There is a feeling that has no name in polite society. You are surrounded by people, laughing, talking, belonging, and yet something inside you watches from a distance, like a ghost at a feast. You have tried to fit in. You have worn the mask. You have said the right things at the right times. But at night, when the performance ends, the silence confirms what you have always suspected. You do not belong here. Friedrich Nietzsche did not call this a disorder. He did not call it depression. He called it the mark of a higher nature. And today, we are going to prove why he was right. Most people will never understand this feeling because most people were built for the crowd. They find comfort in sameness, safety in agreement, identity in belonging. But you were wired differently, and that difference has followed you your entire life. In school, you felt it. In friendships, you felt it. Even in your own family, you felt it. That quiet, unexplainable distance, that invisible wall of glass between you and everyone else. If this has been your silent reality, you are not broken. You are not cursed. You have simply discovered what Nietzsche spent his entire life trying to tell the world. 1. You were never meant for the herd. Nietzsche believed that humanity exists in two fundamental states, the herd and the individual. The herd moves together, thinks together, fears together. It finds safety in numbers and comfort in conformity. The herd does not question. It does not hunger for depth. It simply follows. But then there are those who cannot follow, those whose minds refuse to be still, those who look at the crowd and feel not envy, but a deep, aching loneliness. Nietzsche called these people the higher types, not because they are better human beings, but because they carry a different kind of hunger, a hunger for truth, a hunger for meaning, a hunger that the noise of the crowd can never satisfy. And here is the painful paradox. The very thing that makes you extraordinary is the same thing that makes you feel so completely alone. 2. Your loneliness is not emptiness. It is depth. Most people confuse loneliness with emptiness. They are not the same thing. Emptiness is the absence of meaning. Loneliness is the presence of meaning with no one around to share it. Nietzsche wrote, "The higher we soar, the smaller we appear to those who cannot fly." Think about that for a moment. It is not that you are invisible. It is that you are operating at an altitude that most people have never visited. You are not alone because you are lacking. You are alone because you are carrying something that most people are not yet ready to hold. 3. Jung's answer to the belonging question. Where Nietzsche identified the wound, Carl Jung went deeper and found the source. Jung believed that the feeling of not belonging does not come from the outside world. It comes from within. He called it individuation, the lifelong process of becoming truly and completely yourself. Jung observed that most human beings spend their entire lives performing, wearing what he called the persona, the mask built from other people's expectations, the good son, the agreeable colleague, the perfect partner, and for a while, the mask works. It earns approval. It creates a sense of belonging. But deep beneath that mask, the real self waits, hungry, restless, unseen. And the longer you wear a mask that does not fit, the more intensely you feel that you do not belong, because you don't. Not in that version of yourself. Jung's most radical insight was this: the feeling of not belonging is not a sign that something is wrong with you. It is your soul's way of telling you that you have not yet met yourself. 4. The shadow they never tell you about. Jung taught us that every human being carries a shadow, the hidden parts of the self that were rejected, suppressed, and buried in childhood. Perhaps you were told your sensitivity was weakness. Perhaps your curiosity was called distraction. Perhaps your depth was labeled as strange. So you buried those parts and built a version of yourself that was acceptable to others. But the shadow does not disappear. It lives beneath the surface, and it speaks through that feeling, that quiet, persistent sense that you do not truly belong in the life you are living, because part of you knows the life you are living was built for the mask, not for you. 5. Why the world feels wrong, but you are not. Here is something the world will never tell you. The reason you feel out of place is not because you failed to fit in. It is because you were never designed to. Nietzsche observed that every era produces a small number of human beings who carry within them the seeds of something new, a new way of seeing, a new way of feeling, a new way of existing. These people do not fit because what they carry has not yet found its place in the world. They arrive before their time. They speak a language that the world is not yet ready to hear, and so they wander, feeling foreign in familiar places, feeling alone in crowded rooms, not because they are broken, but because they are ahead. 6. The gift. Hidden inside the wound. Every person who has ever changed the world felt exactly what you are feeling right now. Nietzsche felt it. Jung felt it. Einstein felt it. They all carried that same wound, that permanent, aching sense of not belonging. But here is what they understood. That wound was not their weakness. It was their compass. It pointed them away from the crowd and toward themselves. It forced them into the depths where ordinary people never go. And in those depths, they found what no amount of belonging could ever give them. They found themselves. Jung wrote, "The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are, not who the crowd expects you to be, not who your family designed you to be, but who you, in your deepest, most honest self, actually are." And that journey always begins with the feeling that you do not belong. The psychology behind it all. So why does this feeling persist even when we are surrounded by love? Because belonging is not about location. It is not about the right group of friends, the right city, the right relationship. True belonging can only be found in one place, inside yourself. Nietzsche called it becoming who you are. Jung called it individuation, but they were both pointing at the same truth. The moment you stop searching for a place to belong and start building a life that belongs to you, everything shifts. The loneliness does not disappear overnight, but it changes its nature. It transforms from a wound into a kind of sacred solitude, the solitude of someone who has chosen themselves. How to begin? Stop performing for people who cannot see you. Stop shrinking yourself to fit spaces that were never built for you. Stop mistaking the crowd's comfort for your own. Give yourself permission to be fully, uncomfortably, honestly yourself. Find the one or two human beings in this world who can sit with your depth without flinching. You do not need a crowd. You need witnesses, people who see the real you, and stay. And, most importantly, begin the journey inward, because the belonging you have been searching for your entire life was never outside you. It was always waiting in the one place you were afraid to look. Remember this: the feeling of not belonging is not your sentence. It is your invitation, an invitation to stop living for the crowd and start living for the truth. Nietzsche did not promise that this path would be easy. He promised it would be yours. And Jung understood that the greatest tragedy of a human life is not suffering, it is dying, still wearing someone else's mask. You were not born to belong to the crowd, you were born to belong to yourself. And the moment you truly understand that, you will never feel lost again. Before you leave, I want to ask you one question, and I want you to answer it honestly in the comments below. Is there one specific moment in your life when you first realized you were different from everyone around you? What happened in that moment? Share it below, because somewhere in this world, someone is reading your words right now, and for the first time in their life, they will feel less alone. If this video opened something inside you, subscribe to Forged in Philosophy. Every week, we go deeper into the darkest and most honest truths about the human soul, the kind of truths that nobody says out loud, but everyone desperately needs to hear.